I was really hoping that the BBX would be here. I just saw an RC driver. He has one, he's built it, he's run it. I think that here in China, the BBX is not coming. So hopefully I bought the next best thing. So let's take a look. So where is it? My room's a little bit disorganized. There we are, Load Runner. So if you are in China, Load Runner is a pretty good shop. So you can find them on Taobao. So let's see, what do I got in this box? It's not the BBX. Unfortunately, it is a Hornet. And I still have this massive stack of stuff I unboxed a while back. All still stood there. A couple $1,000s worth? I can't remember. And I want to do a build series on the Grand Hauler, but I've never actually built an RC car on YouTube. So I thought today, maybe it's a good idea if I build one. I think the Hornet is a good car if it's your first thing you're ever going to build for RC. I assume it's going to be pretty simple. So we have the Hornet, and we have some other things to go with it. So let me show you what is going to go with it. Here's the Hornet in all its glory. Load Runner receipt. I paid about $100 for that. Less than 100 US. So there's the Hornet, all in the box. I don't think I'll do an unboxing. There's the shell, chassis, pretty simple build. And to go with it, I have a Hobbywing 1060 brushless, if that's going to focus. Okay, a Hobbywing 1060 brushless. Unfortunately, this one has the Tamiya plug on it, I do believe. We'll be changing that. There it is in the picture. Tamiya plug. Don't really want that, but that came with it. We'll be putting a dirt tune motor in it. I think these are pretty good. Not too fast, not too powerful, but not slow. And Tamiya brushed electric are just amazing, so got that to go in. Customary bearing kit. So have to ball race it, get the ball bearings. And when the weather gets nicer, we'll go outside and we'll paint it. And we're gonna paint it with this dark metallic blue rather than black. And so it should be pretty sweet. So that's a PS59. Now all we gotta do is put it together. So I'm gonna use, I think I'm gonna try use. Well, if this film comes out, this video comes out, then it worked. I'm gonna try to use this GoPro Hero 11, which I think is absolute garbage, but it has a time lapse. So I'm just gonna time lapse, doing some work on the car, setting the parts out. We'll switch back and forth between the cameras. Hopefully it doesn't overheat, go on fire, and burn down my building and kill all the people that live in it. Hopefully that doesn't happen. So, OMG. We're going to use the OMG Metal Gear Pro Servo. I don't know what they cost in the West. I think they cost double the money they do here. So these are so cheap. I can get 3 of these for the price of 1 Savox, and they're just about as good. And they're shorty ones. The small ones I actually find are really, really good. So I have those in a couple cars. So I'll be using that today as well. So I almost forgot that. So it's time to get started. This is a traditional old Tamiya build. We're going to be using JIS standard Phillips copy screws, stuff like that. How long will it take? I think maybe an hour. maybe 2. It shouldn't take very long. There's not a lot to this kit. Even though I've never built one, I did build the Lunchbox, which is one of my favorite RC cars that I own. So much fun. And it's modeled on the same chassis. So, that being said, it is time to go. Go to work. So let's start building. All right, the gearbox is done. Very simple. Took about 10 minutes. The only thing I'll mention is this is an old Tamiya kit, and I had to open parts bag B, parts bag A, parts bag D, so 3 parts bags, and several other bags. So on a new Tamiya kit, if you're building them, pretty much when you start, you're in parts bag A until you finish it, and then you move to B. So this is an older kit, so that's something to be aware of. So if you look at your manual, and it's saying BB1, BC1, BD2, those are bag D, bag C, etc. All right, so got all the ball bearings in. Very simple gearbox, looks very solid, very similar to what is on the, or exactly the same, I'm not sure, but very similar to what is on the Lunchbox. So that's done. Let's crack on, as RC kicks say, and the next step will be to put the motor in. So I have a different motor. We'll put the motor in, and we'll start setting up the rear suspension with this weird slider thing. And then, wow, there's not a lot of steps. So we're on step 3, and we made huge progress. So we'll keep going. Alright, so we got the chassis done. I've been watching the time. I wish well, not done. Chassis not done. We got the gearbox attached to the chassis. So how much time have I been working on this? Roughly 30 minutes exactly, roughly. So that's on. It's on these weird little spring things. Nothing really too difficult about building any of this so far. I think I built it right. I got the motor wires in a good spot. They're on the top. So, it's looking good. We will keep going. I think next we'll put on the Nerf bars, and we will build Nerf bars, and we will build the rear shocks. So, let's get at that. Okay, so that took a bit longer. I think 15 minutes. I had some other things to do, so I walked away. But I got the rear suspension on. These are very strange shocks. I have never built dampers like these before, but they do feel pretty good. So if we look at the manual, there are all sorts of different pistons without holes in them. This weird brass thing with a rubber seal on it. It has a ball end. Just strange. But the strangest part is you drop this brass thing with a rubber seal in it in the top after you fill it with oil, and then you put a screw in it, and then you put another spring and you put the cover on. But actually, they feel great. So, never built oil shocks like that before, but they feel great and they are not leaking. So the next part of this build is doing the electronics and doing the servo. So I have a few things to do before I'll do that. So I gotta do the electronics, do the servo, build the wheels. There's not a lot left, but one thing I have to do is change the connectors on my ESC. So I'm gonna do that. I don't need to, that's kind of boring. So I won't put that in the build. So we'll set this aside for a few minutes and I'll work on the ESC. I'll put XT60 or the T-clip or whatever. I'll put a different connector on and then we'll come back and we'll finish this build. So right now it's been about an hour and I got to fool around with the electronics a bit and front suspension and it's done. Steering servo goes in. So there's not really much to this kit. So a great first kit to build, and you get to build the transmission. Yeah, if you have kids, haven't built one before, Hornet, pretty easy. So I got the connector put on. Went with the standard one. Got my servo centered, so we're ready for the next step. And the next step in the book is, well, putting the servo saver on, I guess, and putting the servo in the car, and then putting all the electronics in the car, and then doing the front A-arms. So, we'll get the servo put in, we'll get the A-arms put on, and I'll be back to introduce the wheels. This whole build, the wheels actually look like the most work. Alright, let's get back at it. It has been, well, it's been about an hour. So about an hour in, the car is coming together and let's keep going. We got the front end suspension hooked up. I made a mistake. I had both of these steering arms, not the arms, the servo arms out one side, and I put it all together, so I had to take it apart. But other than that, it's working pretty well. Going together pretty well. I probably should upgrade the front shocks. I want to build kit standard because I want to time how long it takes to build. But these are horrible. The back ones are so good for what they are. Really, they should have just put a similar version on the front. That would have probably made this even more popular. But I'm pretty pleased with it. Right now, the next step in this build is to build the wheels. And I think that's gonna take longer than lots of this build did. But that's it. Build the wheels, put the battery cover on. And that's my GoPro overheating on time lapse. So I'm gonna have to, this build is taking longer than I planned because GoPro. I'll pull the battery. One thing I've noticed about my GoPro is the battery gets really hot and then it overheats. If you pull the battery and put a fresh one in, you can film for like an hour on time lapse. So I'll do that and we'll get back at it. We'll build the wheels and then we'll be pretty much done with the chassis. I can put a battery in it. We can turn it on. I haven't put a battery in because I'm not sure what will fit. Actually, a standard square lipo does not fit. So it hits the servo when you try slide it in there. So I gotta figure out what battery is gonna fit. I have some thin ones. So then we can actually turn it on. I won't be painting the body today because it is raining. But yeah, but it's almost built. It's been 3 hours, but I had to do the soldering and I have to keep dealing with GoPro, so that's slowing me down. And I took a couple breaks. So my girlfriend came home from horseback riding, so I went and talked to her about that. So all right, let's get back at it. Well, we're finally done. Looking at the time. Yeah, it took me about three and a half hours. Now, of course, the body's not done, but the car is finished. And I've put a battery in. I got a battery that fits. One of these thin 2S lipos. So it works. Where did I put the controller? Okay. So we can see power and steering. So all's good. It's got that hop in the motor where the front of it tilts up. I can put a piece on there from Ampro Engineering that I put on my lunchbox to solve that. But yeah, it works, and I think the suspension is pretty good on the back, and the front is kind of terrible. But that was to be expected. So, in about 3 hours, you can build your own. Now, I gotta paint the shell. Here's our shell that will go on. I gotta paint the driver. I gotta paint the shell, the wing, and the driver. So when I do that, we will do a outdoor run. It's pretty easy to paint this. I just need a day without rain. All in all, the build is really, really simple. Really, really easy. I hope that helps. I don't know if anyone is going to watch all the stop animation, but I put all the parts on. The only complicated things is really maybe building the shocks. Everything else is really simple. So if it's your first RC car, or maybe you want to get one for your kid and they're like 10 years old, 12 years old, this is something they can accomplish. They can build on their own. I really like, my favorite part of the Hornet are the rear tires. I love how the grip goes around to the sidewalls. I just love how they look. So we'll run this as is with our 20 kilogram servo. Hopefully that servo saver doesn't die. I found on my lunchbox the kit servo savers can't stand up to modern servos on 2S, but we'll see. Nice to have the ball race in there. Car works well. Yeah, I'm pleased with it. These are rather cheap. As I said, this is about $100. And then like, I don't know what these cost in America, and 15 bucks or something for a quick run. And these servos cost me like another $15 each. So not too expensive. Got that dirt tune motor in there. That should help give it a little bit get up and go. So we will finish there. I will paint the body, paint the driver, put it all together, and the next time you see this, we'll be outside running it, and we'll just see how fun it is. So thanks a lot for watching, and see you next time.